Hi, Mr. Flying Bird. It is Melissa, and we'll be going over Chapter 4, The Differences in Culture and How It Influences International Business. So, how does cultural differences impact international business? International companies not only cross borders, but they also cross cultures. So, it is important to understand and adapt to the local culture for international companies so they can successfully communicate with one another. Differences in culture between business executives can create barriers and impede the negotiating process. For example, if a Chinese public sector plant manager in Shanghai and a Canadian division head of a family company in Toronto were to do business, they would have to understand each other's cultures. Cross-cultural literacy is the ability to understand cultural differences within nations and how it can affect international business. Businesses in different societies may have a common appreciation for making profits, but it is not as simple as that. Diverse cultures have different business values and practices. Cross-cultural literacy is important for business success. What is culture? Well, culture is a system of values and norms that are shared among a group of people and that, when taken together, constitute a design for living. It includes many societal aspects such as values, norms, and language, where values are abstract ideas about what is important and right, while norms are standards of proper or acceptable behavior in a particular situation. Society is a group of people involved in persistent interpersonal relationships and has common sets of values and norms. Culture and society are elaborately related. People use culture society in a more traditional sense, for example, being a part of a racial culture within a larger U.S. society. Social stratification is a system by which a society ranks categories of people in a hierarchy, and that social category is also called a social strata, which individuals are born in a particular strata. There exists an upper and lower social layer, and it consists of an unequal distribution of rights and privileges, social values, and power. It is universal but takes different forms across different societies. In the United States, it is perfectly clear that some groups have a higher status, power, and wealth than other groups. Why does social stratification even exist? Structural functionalists argue that social inequality plays a vital role in the smooth operations of a society. Language plays an important part in the means with which different cultures interact. It is a spoken and unspoken means of communication. Cultures determine the means in which individuals process and cope with information. Knowing local language is sometimes critical for business success. Verbal and nonverbal communication also affects the way in which culture is shaped, so not understanding nonverbal cues of another culture leads to communication issues. So it is important to understand nonverbal cues because something that may seem very polite may be looked down upon in another society. The role of culture and language are highly significant and dealt with every day in each culture. Professor Gert Hofstad conducted a comprehensive study of how culture influences the values of a workplace. There are 4 dimensions found based off data collected from 1967 to 1973 on 100,000 IBM employees. The Power Distance Index, the first dimension, conveys the idea of how society handles inequalities among people. Societies with a low power distance, people make an effort to equalize the distribution of power and to justify for the inequalities of power. Individualism is where individuals are expected to take care of only themselves and their loved ones, where there is a preference for a loosely knit social framework, while collectivism represents a preference for a tightly knit framework where individuals can rely on their fellows to look after them with unquestioning loyalty. The uncertainty avoidance dimension communicates the degree to which the people of a society feels uncomfortable with uncertainty and ambiguity. This dimension questions how society deals with the fact that the future is not predictable. The last dimension is masculinity versus femininity. The masculinity side of this dimension shows a preference in society for achievement, assertiveness, and material awards for success. The society with this mindset is more competitive. The opposite of this dimension, the femininity side, favors a preference for cooperation and modesty. These societies are more conscious oriented.